Donald Trump likes to talk about how we're being respected around the world, and
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Welcome aboard, El Senora AVQ, Michael Rutnin from Brooklyn, New York, number one in the house. Patrick Magner from Houston, Texas, numero dos in the house. We also have in the house Joe from Los Angeles, California. Welcome aboard. Remember that I missed the first few inside of Substack, but I have so far Mary B, Marilyn Kerr, Robert Murray, Roy J. Johnson, and earlier, just before the show went on, John from Cyprus called in. So, John, you know there's a different number to call in to the program, and that number is 281-823-7747. Let me put that into the chat and get it real early. That is 281 823 823-7747. Yeah, the numbers are different. Then the morning number goes to KPFT. The afternoon number comes directly here. Welcome aboard to Margaret Ryan, Joanne Gallegos. ¿Cómo estás? Welcome aboard. Anyway, it's interesting because we have some interesting bedfellows getting together. We have that uh, Margaret Green, what is her, MGT, Margaret Green Taylor, hooked up with Bobert, hooked up with Massert, hooked up with Rokana to bring the Epstein files to the forefront, and they were working together to pretty much bring that to the fold. They claim it's not about Trump, but you kind of wonder. You kind of wonder. And then we have other people getting together. We have AOC and a couple of right wingers, MAGA folks, together to get politicians out of Wall Street. So just maybe populism, real populism, is going to hit some of our MAGA brothers as they continue to see the cratering of, Donald Trump. What did Marjorie Taylor Greene do? What did she do now? Nothing bad this time. She came out to support Rokana's bill. She signed. As she's a sponsor of Rokana's bill, they need two more Republicans, and it looks like they may get it. Mark KJ, welcome aboard. The bathrobe guy, welcome aboard as well. We're going to start with more stuff in a minute, but I tell you what, let's go ahead and get started with. Let me bring up my thing here and see where we get started. Let's go ahead and get started with new name, right? I want to read you a little something from Common Dreams. Let me put it up on the screen. It says, new name still cuts Medicaid. GOP attempts rebrand of healthcare slashing bill amid dismal polls. Hey, so changing what you call this bill actually doesn't change the harm that it's going to do, said one Democratic senator. Republican Party massive budget law shown itself to be decidedly unpopular with voters as polls consistently show Americans opposed to the $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid. Because this reported Punchbowl News' Jake Sherman, U.S. President Donald Trump with the GOP members of Congress on Wednesday morning to discuss how to boost the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill Act's popularity. According to Sherman, Trump's message to the GOP is that the bill will become popular if they completely rebrand it and talk about it differently. Politico similarly reported that Republicans in Congress have been eager to rebrand the bill after enduring a spate of angry crowds at town halls, including the town halls that we had here in Kingwood. Margaret nails it. You can't put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig. And of course, we have the bathrobe guy says, hello, everybody. Peace and meta. Continuing. Republican pollsters are reportedly recommending that GOP lawmakers tout the bill in the tout the provisions in the bill. Let's see, such as eliminating taxes on some tips. Although worker advocacy organizations One Fair Wage has found that this provision won't benefit most tipped workers since 2/3 of them don't earn enough money to file for federal income tax, which is something that I've told many of you over and over again. The tax cuts for the poor and the middle class are phantom tax cuts and they're not permanent. In fact, the tax on tips expires when Donald Trump is supposed to leave office. Okay? So let's go ahead and continue. It says, in fact, the New York Times correspondent Annie Carney posted or noted that Republicans started referring to this package as the Working Families Tax Plan after getting out of their Tuesday morning meeting. But critics in the Democratic Party argue that a simple rebrand of legislation is unlikely to be enough to rescue in the court of public opinion, with Senator Chris Murphy emphasizing that the problems with the law stem not from marketing, but its substance. Unlike Obamacare, it's the opposite. Obamacare had a marketing problem, but it effectively saved people's lives. Their marketing for the great big gold bill was pretty damn good. The problem is that it's a terrible bill because it hurts the poor, it condemns the middle class, and it throws all that money to the wealthy. We're going to talk about another subject that's going to be similar to that as well. But critics in the Democratic Party, I read that one already. The poorest 25% of workers lose money under this bill. I repeat, listen, folks, smoke this. Tell this to your MAGA friends because a lot of them fall within that 25%. Tell them this, check it out. The 25% of workers, poorest workers, lose money under this bill while the richest average gets $270,000 tax cuts. So, my friends in Appalachia, my brothers and sisters over there, you know I love you. That's why we, the PDR posse, tries to protect you. All of you, most of you in Appalachia, poorest state in the country, meaning West Virginia. Appalachia goes all the way down to Alabama, but you know what I'm saying. You are losing money. 25% of those workers will lose money under the bill. It's not only that you're going to lose money, you're going to lose your health care, which many of you means you're going to lose your life. A lot of you are on SNAP. You're going to lose your SNAP. Food stamps, that is. You're going to lose a lot of your benefits. Finito. Gone. Of course, there's a way to get it back. 2026, if you elect the right people, you'll get it back because Donald Trump won't not sign a bill unless maybe we have to take the tax cuts back, though. We got to let the rich pay, but we'll see. Anyway, so the wealthy people, though, they get $270,000 tax break. Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York is in the house. Hey, Bridge, something has to be posted. You know what I'm talking about. By the way, let's see. Harry Denson from Missouri City, Texas is in the house. Gene Daigle is in the house. John Ray Aguilar. I think you're John from Cyprus, right, Brother Aguilar? Let me know if you're the person. And if you needed to call in, the number, I posted it in the screen. I'm going to post it again, which is 281-823-7747. I posted them in both places, all right? All right, let's continue with the article. And we continue. Senator, well, I'm not going to put what the senators say, but that's enough of the article. Suffice it to say, the people that most support this bill is going to mostly affect negatively. You see, Donald Trump is a charlatan, a liar, a thief, a thug, a con man. And even as he has always been working to sell America to the wealthy, give me money, I'll fix you up. Give me money, I'll fix you up. And that's what he did. And all you MAGA folks, because most of you MAGA folks that addresses PDR are poor. And when I say poor, I don't say that as an insult. I say that as a reality, or marginally middle class. It's just that what I wanted to, and by the way, that's not because of who you are. That's because of a failed economic system, right? So this is not on you at all. This is not something that I'm, hitting you up on or something like that. I'm just trying to say, in the economic system that those of us who really believe in this stuff envision, you would be doing fine because you're hard workers. Okay? You're very hard workers. Eric says itemized deductions won't even come close to the increased standard deduction. Exactly. Thank you. So you're agreeing, Eric, that the guy is a fraud. The fact that you understand that tells me that you should see tax on tips as a fraud. You should see immediately tax on tips is a fraud. Gene Daigle from Alvin, Texas. Welcome, Gene. Great having you here. Carrie Dalton, Nancy Fagans, Kent Smith, Dr. Liquid Words. I like that. Dr. Liquid Words. George D. McLean, Marge KJ says the biggest problem is these poor people keep voting for Republicans because they use racism, sexism and all the isms and social issues to fool these people into believing problems that are not problems are problems. Like, oh, the gays, oh, the trans, they're making the trans fight with the girls. And men, we need to know about bathrooms. These people have never seen a trans person. But Fox News, OAN, Newsmax have them fearing something that doesn't exist. Gullible, gullible, gullible. It's amazing. And what we are doing here at Politics Done Right, we hope, is to tell folks, hey guys, chill. These are not real problems. These are not real problems. And here's a funny thing. I want to give you guys a joke. Here, check this out. PDR is trying to reverse capitalism that's been around here for 400 years. Okay. And who has benefited from capitalism over the last 400 years? Wow. First of all, who built the 400 years of capitalism? Slavery. All types of slavery. The worst of them all, chattered slavery in the United States and the Caribbean and South America and North America and Central America. That's was capitalism first initial in this country. Then came what it did then the genocide of the indigenous folks to take the land and capitalize the land. Remember, the indigenous do not believe in land ownership because the land will always be there. If you believe in land ownership, eventually there's going to be a group of folks who will never ever own land because all land would be taken. That's where it eventually gets to. So indigenous people were smart. They knew that we were stewards of the land, not owners of the land. Okay? So we genocided them out of existence for all practical, not out of existence, but out of you know what. All right, but that wasn't enough. We also brought the Chinese over, and the Chinese, they built our railroads. Many of them died building those tunnels through the Rocky Mountains, etc., etc. Right? Is it Rocky Mountains or is it one of them? Okay. Then we exploited the other countries around the world. Remember Chiquita Banana? Learn the history of Chiquita Banana and the and all these growers. What's the name of the big growing groups? Okay, know one of the things, that reason why they don't want us to know the history is they don't want us to know what the capitalists have done in our name, not in America's name. Okay, in our name. Americans are good people. The middle class, great people. The poor, great people. The marginally wealthy that work themselves to earn their money, good people. But the capitalists, bad people. Bad people. Why? Why? Because capitalists believe that the capital is more important than humanity. And that is what we have to separate, right? They want you, whenever I talk about capitalism, they want to make that Americanism. It is not. It is not. It is not. Americans are good people. Americans are free enterprisers. Americans want good things for their brothers and sisters. Americans think about humanity first. Capitalists aren't Americans. Capitalists around the world, whether they be in Nigeria, whether they be in Great Britain, whether they be in Germany, it doesn't matter where they are. The modus operandi is the same. Capital first, and we will kill to maintain the growth of capital. Every war, absolutely everything. Genesis, capital. Okay, let's remember that. And don't just take my word on it. Just look it up. Look it up. They try to put, as our sister March says, they try to put lipstick on a pig. But look, America as the biggest military, as the biggest economy, etc., we could hide what capitalism did for decades. We could hide what it has done to the world for decades. We can hide, for centuries. We can hide what it has done to black people for centuries. We can hide what it has done to poor white people in Appalachia and all these places for centuries. Check it out. You go ahead and you work in the coal mine. All our white brothers and sisters up there in Appalachia, they work in the coal mines. They live in housing and land prepared by the company. And the company also gave them special money to buy their stuff at commissaries up there in the hills. So the company paid them and then took back their monies because all the stuff they were able to buy came out of the company store. See, those are histories a lot of folks don't know. Oh, I want my coal mine. You remember what the rednecks really were in coal mines? You remember how they had to fight? We don't know those history. And the Powell memo wants to ensure you never learn that, because you learned all these things. You start to ask the question, oh my God, oh my God, this has always been a fraud. The only difference to my white brothers and sisters now is that the fraud is finally reaching to the particular set of white people that never thought these things could happen to them. Our white brothers in Appalachia always knew it, but they lived apart. They never made the news. They don't come on TV because nobody cares about them. So they have their insular community. And the truth of the matter is, they exist, but the base of white America that is supported by capitalism that was keeping them sufficiently happy, they didn't see that white people could live worse than you see in the ghettos in Chicago, in Houston, in New York, etc. Because they hide them. So you never looked at yourself as saying that could be me. Because when my daughter was in med school and she's driving around Appalachia to go ahead and give different products and so forth to help the folks out to get Medicaid, etc., she had never seen poverty like that in her life. And she was in shock. So much shock, she called me from her car driving with her friend. Right? So I don't know if I'm going to CAT tonight, Bruce. It all depends on how much I get done after the program. But so it's so important that we know our history. They try, as somebody in the chat put, they're trying to divide us. I'm not going to play into that crap. All of you guys are my brothers and sisters. Whether you're MAGA, whether you're the leftist person, most leftist person, the most rightist person, you're my brothers and my sisters. We're not going to let them do that, because capitalism has nothing to do with right, left. It has nothing to do with MAGA. It has nothing to do with Tea Party. Those are all pawns in the game. Pawns in the game. But as we worry about all these things at home, there's something big happening overseas that could have a bigger effect on us. And I spoke about it this morning, and I want to play that video. And after the video, we'll come back to the topics at hand.
Donald Trump likes to talk about how we're being respected around the world and how strong we are, etc. For the longest time, we're about 4% of the world, population-wise. And we probably take up about 25% of all the natural resources. And we also about 20% or so in economic power around the world. That is huge for 4% population. And we've held that after World War II for some time, because we have been a manufacturing behemoth, a financial behemoth in everything. And we have maintained that for a long time. The world likes a certain degree of stability. And whether, some would call us bullies, because again, we are very, very strong as a country. We are, or I'm going to kind of put R with a little bit of W in there. Maybe we're the strongest. But now what we're starting to see is people looking and saying, Why? There's a new bloc that has just emerged. It has a title, Shrink: China, Russia, India, North Korea. Crazy union, not a real union of friends, but you can see that these guys getting together isn't necessarily that they like each other, but it's about sticking it to America. We, of course, also have BRICS, which is Russia, India, China, Brazil, and all these groups that are forming alliances, all of them, each one of those alliances with GDPs in the aggregate larger than America, sometimes larger than America plus Europe. And these countries, for the longest time, would never do something like, let's try to create different axes of power around the world. Again, with all the flaws that we have, the level of democracy that we've had has still been better in the aggregate than all these other countries, these countries that I've just mentioned. As much as Brazil has turned out to be a strong democracy under Lula, it has an interesting past as well. So this guy that we call President of the United States, who likes to talk about people respecting us more so than under any other administration, is actually faltering, and it's actually putting not only our safety at risk, we are able to do the bad kind of spending, deficit spending, and all that kind of stuff without very adverse effects, because we have something called sovereign currency, sovereign money, the reserve currency, people wanting to use the dollar as the backstop, something that they can believe in even in bad times. That is fast changing. And that is fast changing solely because of what Donald Trump has done to our reputation. What Donald Trump has proven that we are no longer that solid country that won't cross certain lines. Donald Trump has made it that no powerful person, country, or whatever remains powerful by bullying others or by putting others at risk or by damaging others. Others will start to think we need to make alliances to protect ourselves. And that's what a lot of the major countries are doing right now. And there's a reason. There was a trust that, to a certain extent, not completely, as the indigenous people, as those treaties that we've broken, not by Trump, but by others. But for the most part, we were reliable, the most reliable. And that isn't the case anymore. Donald Trump has completely flipped that around. From tariffs to military alliances to the way we treat expatriates and foreigners that are coming in, we have changed the paradigm, and it's something Trump's not going to pay for it. He's getting rich off of what he's doing. But we as a country have started paying for it and will continue to pay for it as long. And by the way, even if Trump is out of office, and this I'm speaking now to those who've elected Trump, even after he leaves office, he would have changed our international relationships for a generation. And the reason why is people don't want to build their houses on sand. They, for the longest time, built it on American reputation. Whether a Democratic president or a Republican president came into the fold, they knew that certain norms weren't getting crossed. They knew that certain things a Republican administration did would hold up and be maintained by that Democratic organization in the aggregate when they get into power. Donald Trump has shown that's no longer the truth, but it's worse. We, the people of America, have shown the world that our vote is no longer a sensible vote. Our vote is no longer a pragmatic vote. Our vote is no longer a vote that the rest of the world can trust. This country that once seemed very educated, once seemed that, well, the people know best. We have shown the world that a large percentage of Americans don't know best, and a large percentage of Americans are willing to sacrifice their country for reasons unwarranted. And you can plug the space in for what those reasons are. We've discussed it many times. But the damage that we've done is a damage that won't be easily solved, even if we elect a subsequent Democratic president in a landslide. So we have a lot of work as a country to do. We have a lot of atoning to do. We have a lot to rebuild our respect, both as individual United States citizens and as a country as a whole. And I hope that we start doing that not in the midterms, but I hope we start doing that in November when we have major elections in several states, that we can at least show the rest of the world that we're waking up and that we see the flaws of the ways that we've had. We complained when Reagan and Bush were elected. People on the right complained when Clinton and Obama was elected. But none of the rest of the world felt of any one of those presidents, that none of them thought that any of those Republicans or Democrats was a clear and present danger to the United States of America, albeit to the world.
And that's the whole thing. It doesn't matter that you like or not like a president. It didn't matter if they were Democrats or Republicans. There were certain stabilizing forces that America represented. And we no longer have that because we have a madman in office and we have sycophants that are enabling the madman. And let me be clear because I need to back up. We have a simulated madman in office, but what it really is billionaires in during end state capitalism that have to find ways to continue their dominance. So they use the madman to do the mad things that's necessary to maintain that. Now, Margaret wants me to explain something that I probably should have in better detail a long time ago. She said, "What is free enterprise?" What I need to do, Margaret, before I say what free enterprise is explain what capitalism is. Does everybody understand what the word abstraction means? Abstraction, it in effect means that you don't see necessarily, you are actually working to a particular algorithm for something that happens differently. Terrible explanation that I just gave, so I'm going to give an explanation here. Capitalism abstracts everything. In other words, we are a rich country and we see ourselves being rich. We see that we can get plastics and iron and all these different pieces. Okay, we see that. What we don't see is for us to have all the plastics, for us to have the overabundance of all these different products because of the capacity of the earth and the capacity of where we are, and also because of who we keep down to give us an overarching capacity of wealth. We have to enslave others. We have to have an unfair advantage on others. Let's give a good example. We love our rare earths, but nobody here in the United States really does a lot of collecting of rare earths. So what we do is we see the beautiful telephones and all of that that are made with rare earths, the transistors and diodes and all the pieces of this machine are made with a lot of parts that are a lot of material that's coming from other countries that we buy on the cheap. In order for us to afford all this junk that we buy, all these good stuff that we buy, somebody have to do the digging, etc. And we want all that digging for cheap. So we have a lot of folks in the other parts of the world, in Africa, in Indonesia, in Thailand. They are digging and they are working on their butts off and they're selling our caches that we enjoy here. They do the hard labor, hard work for little pay. But we don't see any of that. We don't see any of that. All we see is that we are rich and we can buy a cell phone for $1,000, and that if we were manufacturing this cell phone here in the United States, it would cost $3,000. That excess amount is the money denied the people around the world who collect the data. Michael Rudin has a much better example. He says, to me, the best example of abstraction are chips at the casino. The chips represent money, but you trade chips, and after you convert those chips to money. We trade slavery, and we convert that slavery into our well-being, our better things. But let me go a little bit further. So capitalism has always done that, right? But there's more to it than that. The abstraction also is in companies, right? All of you today who work for a corporation, all of you work for a corporation, or who works for a corporation. Your corporation is divided into something called stocks, right?
So a wealthy person owns a lot of stocks in different corporations. All these stocks are nothing more than the value, the purported value of that corporation divided into hundreds of thousands of pieces. So let's say this corporation is worth $1 billion. I may sell it for that. I may sell $10 stocks in that corporation. So then I own 100 million stocks that corporation has. And a lot of different people have pieces of that corporation. They have an abstraction of that corporation. So it doesn't matter if that, as far as they're concerned, they are stockholders and they are very wealthy people who make their monies off of stocks. They don't do any work. They don't do anything. It doesn't matter if that corporation makes its money via slavery. It doesn't matter if that corporation makes its money by polluting the air, polluting the ground. None of that matters. They are making money in a legal manner. They own a piece of a corporation and they get a dividend from that corporation profits. And remember, all the money that corporation made was your work, all of your work. Absolutely everybody that works for that corporation made that money. But the people who make the most of that corporation are the shareholders, the executives. Right now, some corporations, the CEO makes 1,000 times what their average employee makes. So again, it's the abstraction. You do the work, you get a little bit of pay, and everything else go up to the shareholder. That's what abstraction looks like. That's what capitalism looks like. We turn your company into capital, and that capital is owned by somebody else, by thousands of rich people, and they make the money. And whenever that company is in trouble, in order to keep those people's dividends, in order to keep them making money, they don't worry about those people. The idea is, as Milton Friedman, the god of capitalism, the newer god of capitalism, right? As he said, the executives should worry about absolutely nothing but enhancing the share value. In other words, paying the owners of the company, paying the shareholders. So if the company starts to lose money, they throw the people who made the money in the first place away. You guys are expendable. Remember, there are times that I said even slavery to some extent in America, even slaves had to be taken care of because, again, they were property. But the employee is a better form of slavery because when we don't need you, we dump you. In the slavery days, we had to maintain, you don't throw away your car, you don't throw away these things in the aggregate. So we had to maintain that. But now the employee is a better form of slavery. Throw it out the door. No health care, no nothing. So that is the tenets of capitalism, no humanity at all. Now, government comes in and tries to put some regulations that tells capitalism you have to do certain things, and they fight you heads and tails about it. They don't want to pay taxes. They don't want to do any of these things. But the government, we the people are the government. We said, you're not going to just bleed us as slaves. You are going to have to pay your fair share. And they cry, and to solve that problem, they indoctrinate people. They create MAGA, they create Tea Party, they create neoliberals, they create all these things to lie to you, to mess with your mind, to divide you so that they can stay empowered. Capitalism and all that is how it functions by design. It's not an accident. That is the design of that economic model. That is the design. There's no God in it. Even though evangelicals like to think capitalism has something to do with Jesus. In fact, remember what Jesus did in the temple when they went and they did stuff on the Sabbath? He threw everything out. No, blew it up. That's what Jesus did. But anyhow, so by design, capitalism is working exactly as intended. And like I've told you guys many a times, there's no intelligence in capitalism. To be a capitalist, you don't have to be intelligent. After all, Musk is not very intelligent, but he's a capitalist and he could buy engineers. He could buy scientists, etc. That's all he does. He's not smart. A smart man couldn't destroy America the way he did in Doge and not realize what was happening. That's not intelligence at all. That's not intelligent. He's not an intelligent person. Okay? Capitalism does not require intelligence, it just requires understanding the methods of capitalism and using it. And the methods of capitalism doesn't require a lot of intelligence. A scientist requires intelligence. A secretary requires intelligence. All teachers, I love teachers. Most important profession bar none. So, what is free enterprise though? Let me tell you, when I talk about free enterprise, what I want is to get rid of capitalism and create free enterprise with a strong social safety net. Let's build this model, and this is how it goes. And this requires a lot of intelligent people to come up with. I know what the model should look like, right? How the entire design of the model, I don't know, right? But we know it's there because ants have a model. Ants, they are a very collective society and they work perfectly, right? They all work together, they do their jobs, etc. But here's the deal. Free enterprise says the following. First of all, first of all, we think about human beings first. It's what's good for human beings. What keeps human beings healthy? First, we need clothing, shelter, and food. Regulated capitalism isn't really a thing. Let me give an example why. Capitalism always devolves itself into uh, into um, into monopoly, and monopoly will continue to exist as long as we accept a model that says capitalism is market driven with no social whatever. So we need to get rid of the word itself. We have to be honest. People are scared to say that, but you need to get rid of the word because the word is evil, slavery, indentured servitude. All these things are the definition of capitalism. Now, how, if you think human beings first, and what comes after that? You build every model around that. So, what do human beings need? Food, and shelter, food, and healthcare, etc. Those are the areas where has to be one of two things: controlled by the collective, we the people, or subsidize basic income. Let's explain. Healthcare should be something that we collectively pay for with all our resources, and those who are unable to pay, of course, because we believe in humanity, will be taken care of. People say, well, what about the loafers, the people who don't want to do any work? I don't know about you, but I'm around a lot of people, and I don't know too many people who don't want to be productive. I don't. That is something that is learned not to be productive. And some people grow up in an environment because of our own creation that create unproductive people. But when those people hit certain environments, they ultimately want to be a productive human being. So all the studies that's been done with basic income shows one thing, and that is you give people a hand up, they keep wanting to do more. They want to be engineers. They want to have their own small business. They want to do all these things if they have the opportunity to do so. Now, here's how you get the opportunity to do so. Free enterprise. Free enterprise says anybody who wants to create their own business can do so. Anybody who wants to create their own pizza shop, their store, they want to be a plumber, they want to create, be ingenious in their shops, they can do so. Why is it that many people can't do that right now? Because they can't afford health care, because they can't afford housing, because they can't afford any of these things. Now, suppose you take away the opportunity for people not to have food, housing, clothing, and healthcare. If people know that the baseline of American existence in or an economic system, that the existence of that economic system guarantees you will have food, clothing, uh, healthcare, then guess what? The real you can show up. You want to create a dance company? Do it. You want to live a higher standard of life? Do it. It doesn't stop you from being rich, because if you are rich out of what you produce, hey, it's okay. In other words, if I want to go out there and create a shoe and sell a lot of shoes, right? I can get rich. Now, we also want to, because of the mathematical formula that governs any economy, after you reach a certain amount of wealth, right? You actually want to tax that back into the system, right? And why is that? You may say, but that's not fair. What do you mean it's not fair? You could be able to sell all these things absent the collective performance of the rest of the country. So people who think they're doing it on their own, like I created a product called ComDRV, allowed computers to speak to each other over an RS-232 signal. Those were the day. I mean, I used to feel guilty because I had price and power. I could sell for whatever I want, however much I want to sell it for. But that price and power wasn't true, because while Boeing and all these other companies would buy these products from me at any price, ultimately, guess who pays for it? You all. When you get on a plane, a piece of that ticket, a few pennies for the, because they use my stuff to test the 777 and I think the 787. Okay, a piece of that ticket is my money. I had price and power, and that is what people don't understand, and they don't want you to understand. We are all connected together. I couldn't do politics done right if many of you haven't seen the worth of saying, you know what, I'm going to subscribe to that dude because he's actually giving us something of value. And those of you that are teachers, hey, I got to pay. I have a house in Kingwood. I don't have any kids in college or high school any longer. I love paying my property taxes because I want the teachers paid. I think I saw a teacher in the LBW, teacher here in Kingwood. I want her paid. I want her paid well. My daughter just became a teacher. I want her paid because they're moving it forward. That's what it's all about. So free enterprise, in short, is to my friend Margaret, that we have our basic services taken care of through all our collective taxes, meaning healthcare, housing assistance if necessary, food assistance if necessary, clothing assistance if necessary. And notice I said those are if necessary, because I'm not trying to say government makes clothes, government grows food. None of that. None of that. Because that wouldn't work. But government controls money systems. But what I wouldn't want is, I don't for the natural resources of the country, like oil and carbon and all of that, that is a natural resource of the entire country, that should belong to the commons. And we should all benefit from that, not just Exxon because they found the oil. The rest of that oil belongs to them, and they and their shareholders profit entirely from that. That is wrong. That is immoral. That is thievery. Legalized thievery, nonetheless, but legalized thievery. So that is where our society needs to go. So how is that implemented? Not difficult at all. Convert Medicare for old people into Medicare for all. That ensures that we have a baseline. Absolutely everybody gets health care. And by the way, right now you are already paying for health care. Let's see. How do you explain those that will say free enterprise is socialism or any misconception? They'll say, I don't care, Margaret. I don't care, because you know what? I don't care what the ism is, right? It doesn't matter what the ism is. If that person can live a fruitful life, and that person can, if they want to work hard for more money, they can. If they want to be wealthy, they can. If they, in other words, there's nothing that I'm saying that is going to stifle economic activity. In fact, it will increase economic activity based on the supply and demand theory that has always existed, whether it's capitalism or some other ism. So that is important. And again, that's where education comes in, Margaret. And that is where you let me just let me dissect your statement. You said the following. How do you explain to those that will say free enterprise is socialism or any other misconception they'll say? I would say if you are living, forget about, don't call it any ism. Do you agree with basic income? Do you agree that you should all have health care? Do you agree that you should be able to form a company if you want to form a company and not have to worry about health care and not to have to worry about all these things? Okay? And that's it. That's it. And Margaret also says, you just gave me the answer to how to educate those who don't understand. Yes, 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 and yes. Thank you for that, Margaret. And that is what's important. You know, we don't fight on their terrain. They are fighting on the terrain of ignorance, right? We fight on a different terrain. Bruce says, is digital currency a product of capitalism or a post cap? It is a capitalism. Capitalism is fraud. So it tries to do all kinds of things to make money for free. Capitalism is a fraud. So digital currency is a fraud as well. And that's exactly what it is, capitalism on steroids. All right, let's see. Uh, and and of course, Mike CSAC comes with the inhumane answer, which says, "Oh, nothing is owed to anyone in this world." Okay, that's not true at all. We decide, we decide what society is going to look like. And if those people who are selfish and ignorant, if they want to stay out of society, they can go live in a forest somewhere. All right, Patrick Magno said if a system can improve everyone's quality of life, it shouldn't matter what you call it. There you go, Patrick. It is a moral choice that should be made. We should stop living at the expense of other people. There you go, my brother. There you go. There you go. LBW says we have been conditioned to think that any ism other than capitalism is evil. It's just not true. This is how many developed countries are run throughout the world. You know, it's important for us to this. You see, the thing about it is they have to have the boogeyman. LBW. They got to, and as long as they have people thinking that way, they can actually keep people like our brother Mike Cisak completely confused. But that's why we are here. We're here to open it. And the fact that Margaret says, Margaret is the perfect person here, right? Because Margaret says, but suppose they call it socialism. And we say, well, then we do that. And Margaret says, yes, 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 that's it. Those words from Margaret were magic because that's what we have to do. Those words from Margaret was magic. That's what we have to do. All right. I need to give you guys a story that's occurring that Trump is again and his evil administration is working on. One of the reasons, first of all, no matter what, folks, I want you to do this. Remember, this is the time of the year they're trying to get you to buy to sign up for Medicare as you turn 65. If you have a few dollars in your pocket, because there are some people that will have to go to Medicare Advantage the way things are set up right now because they just can't afford $100 premium or $150 premium or something like that for the Medigap insurance. I get it. I get it. We are fighting for you. For those of you who don't have a choice, rest assured that we will continue this. In my case, I'll continue this damn fight until I die. I already told my wife I'm never retiring. I will never retire. This is what I've set myself out to do, to go on and on to make this to be a part of making this a better place, a better country, the country that we learned it should be. But here is what I need to tell you. I understand for poor people, for people who just don't have it, where you may have to get Medicare Advantage. And rest assured that we are fighting to get rid of it altogether and for us to have one healthcare system. No more VA, no more Medicare Advantage, no more Medicaid. None of all of that puts a whole lot of unnecessary paperwork into a system. We just need Medicare for all, nothing else. Everybody get a card and they have health care. They're an American citizen in a rich country and they have health care. That's it. All the other VA and TriStar, none of that. We don't need any of that. All we need is Medicare for all. Okay? Now, for now, in our transition period, some of you will have to go on Medicare Advantage because you don't have a choice. I get it. And when you hear me disparage Medicare Advantage, please don't take it as something to hit you that says Egberto is disparaging what you had to do. I am not. But what I'm saying, for those who can afford traditional Medicare, uh, the responsible thing to do is to get traditional Medicare and buy the Medigap portion that pays the 20%. And some Medigap programs have dental, hearing, eyes as well, eyesight as well. Because as more people go to Medicare Advantage, it will kill Medicare. Because they will say we have a preponderance of people in the private system, a private system that didn't want them until the government subsidized capitalism. Understand that. So, anybody, if you want to ensure your health, do not get Medicare Advantage. Get Medicare and get the Medigap program, the Medigap to pay your 20%. Please, folks, because Medicare Advantage for many would be a death sentence. And I want to scare you. Yes, I do. I want to scare you because Medicare Advantage for many is a death sentence. Now, Donald Trump, in order to even reduce further, the they're trying to do the same thing that Medicare is doing, and that is they're trying to say let there be pre-authorizations in traditional Medicare as well. Medicare, traditional Medicare has always had pre-authorization for non-emergency things, certain things. I mean, very few things. But now they want to expand it like Medicare Advantage, which is a complete failure. Okay? And we can't allow that to happen. We have to vote these guys completely out of office. We have to vote them out of office. Now, because if that pre-authorization comes, a lot of people are going to think, wait a minute, if traditional Medicare is pre-authorizing and Medicare Advantage is pre-authorizing and Medicare Advantage seems, notice I said seems cheaper to me, maybe I'll go for Medicare Advantage. The problem is, remember, Medicare Advantage tells you what doctor you can see, what medicine you can take, where you can go. If you're out of state, you're in trouble. If you're out of county, you're in trouble. Or you have to get exceptions, or you may be out of network. All kinds of negative things for Medicaid Advantage if you are not in the program. So what we have to do is kill Medicare Advantage and establish traditional Medicare for all. And we want to eventually eliminate the necessity to purchase a Medicare, what is it called? The Medigap. And the truth of the matter is if we really got the private sector out of Medicare, we could actually have Medicare the way it should be. No 20%, no 20% that you would be responsible for. We could actually have one that works. So we'll continue talking Medicare a whole lot because this is the time people are doing that. We're going to talk Medicare a lot. But if you take one thing out of this program, please do not take Medicare Advantage if you have enough money to buy the Medigap program, it could likely save your life. I got to get out of here. It's 4 o'clock. I want to thank all of you all for listening to the show. Please support the show however you can. And how can you do that? You can do that by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. And I'm putting that in the chat right now. Politicsdoneright.com/newsletter is the way to support us. And you don't get something for nothing, right? What we do is we give you our books. You get all my books. You can read online on at the Substack. That is, as I see it, Class Warfare: The Only Resort to Right Wing Doom. It's worth it. How to talk to It's worth it. How to talk to your right wing relative friends and neighbors. How to make America utopia. We talk a lot about a lot of things that we discuss here. Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean man. And for somebody who's always been fighting the battle of the bulge, lose weight and be fit now. So I mean, let me just say, folks, please support us. I can't do this without you. I told you that we did very well as a businessman selling all kind of products. I've been doing this for over 12, 15 years now. I've exhausted everything now. So I am solely dependent on us having subscription. So I ask you so kindly to go to politicsandright.com/newsletter and become paid subscribing members. And we give you some perks for that. All right. I want to thank all of you for showing up. I love you all my folks. Mike Cisak, you're big MAGA. I love you too. I love all of my people because we're in this, whether you realize it or not, we are all in this together. You may not believe it. The fights are manufactured. The differences are manufactured. They're manufactured for capitalism to succeed. Capitalism cannot succeed unless we divide and conquer. Remember that. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. You guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.